morning and hello friends. It is Nancy from Astrology and Angel Mediums, and today I will be doing a weekly check-in reading for the week of February 8th, so it's Sunday, February 8th, through Saturday, February 14th, which I believe will be Valentine's Day for those that celebrate. So today I will be using the Spacious Tarot. It's been a while since I've used this deck. I've always loved this deck. It's one of those decks that I really love using it. It works for me and I love the artwork in it. So I hope everyone's doing well. I know we had Mercury move into Pisces on the 6th, which was Friday. And we'll have Venus and Aquarius will be square Uranus and Taurus today. We'll also have Venus moving into Pisces on the 10th, which is on Tuesday. And we'll also have Mercury conjunct the North Node in Pisces. And it will also be the beginning of the shadow period for Mercury retrograde. So that'll be fun for you guys to kind of keep in mind as we kind of move through this energy this week. All right, we have a jumper, so we're going to put her off to the side because at this point I'm like, obviously things want to come out. So I hope everyone's doing okay. I know there's been a lot happening with everything going on politically and otherwise. And it is very, I will say kind of like just overwhelming. So I hope you're doing what you can to kind of take a step back, like ground yourself, cleanse yourself, doing your spiritual hygiene, doing things that allow you to feel a little bit more rooted in your personal experience and not getting so distracted by these things that are happening in the world at the current moment. And I know like that seems very like, let's spiritually bypass that. And that's not really what I'm saying here. What I'm saying is to be very aware of like your own personal energy and to take care of yourself as we're going through these things. It's like a lot of us are on information overload, and it's never beneficial in the sense of it can be very detrimental if you're not doing anything to kind of pull back and kind of reground and recenter your own personal energy before you kind of get too caught up in everything that's happening. I'm not saying to not be aware or to be informed. What I'm saying is to also give yourself space to process, to digest, to metabolize all of the stuff that you're kind of taking in a way that is going to allow you to make the next best right step, if that makes sense. All right, let's get into what this week will bring for us as a collective. So the first thing is, what do we need to know? We have the Hanged One or the Hanged Man in traditional tarot. I'm going to put her over here because she wanted to come out first. What do we need to do? We have the Sun reversed. Let's move on to what do we need to release as a collective. We have the Nine of Pentacles reversed. And what do we need to contemplate as a collective? We have the Ace of Swords upright. Okay, so let's kind of get into this reading for this week. Let's see what we need to kind of keep in mind. All right, so first card that kind of decided to pop out. So I'm going to assume that maybe this is a very interesting or significant theme that will be coming up that we need to be very aware of is the Wheel of Fortune. Now, the Wheel of Fortune is one of these cards that I think can be seen as disruptive, especially if we're very comfortable with the situation that we're in, or if we just don't really see how these changes will be beneficial for us in the long term. So I think the biggest thing with the Wheel of Fortune is that this is a card that is stating the flow of life will continue, whether we like it or not. and what we do will ripple out. So this is a great time to look at, you know, ourselves, our community, how are we showing up? This is why I was kind of focusing on and trying to remind us that like we need to do things that are beneficial for us as an individual and kind of taking care of ourselves first. Kind of that whole like put your own oxygen mask on first. It's that kind of energy of like we need to kind of care for ourselves and do what we need first, and then kind of see how we can show up for others, because when we fill our cups, it makes it a lot easier for us to kind of show up in the ways that are necessary for those around us. Now, the Wheel of Fortune is also a card of like luck and can be seen as a card that is very beneficial for things shifting in a better direction. So if you feel like things haven't really been going the way that you had intended, or maybe you feel a bit like kind of concerned with, you know, what am I going to do? How's this going to look? How's this going to be? The Wheel of Fortune is a beautiful reminder that things are constantly in flux, they're constantly shifting. We have to kind of move with the cycles. Again, this is really about how are you going to flow with this energy? Are you allowing yourself to kind of like move with the ripples of what's happening here? There's a lot of very beneficial energy that is associated with the Wheel of Fortune. I think that it is a beautiful reminder in a lot of ways, especially when we're kind of stuck in, you know, like, what am I supposed to do? How's this going to look? Like, you know, how can I show up? You know, what's going to change? I need something to change. The Wheel of Fortune is very much that energy. And yes, as we're kind of moving through the rest of this week before we have like the solar eclipse in Aquarius, I think it's going to be a very interesting energy for a lot of us that, you know, haven't really felt like things are maybe being highlighted in the way that we would like, or there may be something that really needs to shift, really needs to change. And there is this like push to kind of see like, what does this mean for us? Like, how are we going to get into this next phase in a way that feels a lot more rooted and grounded for what we need. And I think that this is a perfect card, especially as we're kind of moving through the end of the year of the snake and kind of moving into the year of like, I think it's the fire horse, the following week on the 17th. The new moon, I believe, is usually when it begins. And so we're kind of given this like opportunity to look at, you know, what has needed to change that maybe we haven't really been giving ourselves an opportunity to really truly change in the ways that we should. All right, so that's kind of the little jumper card. So maybe this is going to be a like theme to keep in mind, especially as we kind of go through the rest of these cards. So the first card with what we need to know is the Hanged One. Now, typically this is a card that really, to me, can seem a little bit frustrating, because as someone that really likes momentum and movement and trying to kind of get where I need to get to, the Hanged One is like sitting in traffic. It is suspension. It is, you know, not really having an opportunity to kind of go a little bit faster or have things move quicker for you. It can be a little frustrating in the sense of, especially if you're like, I'm trying to flow, I'm trying to go with things, I'm trying to just like get to the next thing, I'm trying to kind of achieve everything that I can where I'm at and kind of move on. The Hanged One is a reminder that sometimes we need to change our perspective where we are. So there's something here that is wanting us to change in some way. There is something here that is kind of saying we're not quite done with what is necessarily available to us at this current moment. And so a lot of us may be feeling this sense of like, well, what are we going to do about it? What are we going to do with this? Like, how are we going to manage this? Or how are we going to, you know, do that? Or what comes next? And the beautiful thing about the Hanged One is that it really gives us like difference in perspective. It gives us an opportunity to look and observe what is actually happening here, what is actually going on, to really get to the bare bones about it and not be so distracted by all of the outside noise and all of the things that are kind of happening around us, that at times whenever we're just busy rushing through and kind of living on autopilot in a lot of ways, the Hanged One kind of gives us this like invitation to take a step back and really look at the bigger picture, to again kind of change that perspective of what we're looking at, why we're looking at it, how we're looking at it. It can just be a little bit of this in a lot of ways, a really beautiful invitation into, you know, what it is that maybe we needed to learn where we're at and what needs to shift because of what we've learned where we're at. So I think that this week, again, it's a major card. So there's some big themes kind of coming up for us this week that we need to be very aware of and just be mindful that while it may not feel like we're making a lot of progress or movement or have a lot of direction in like how this will look moving forward, a lot of us are kind of seeing and kind of changing how we view what it is that we're currently observing at the present moment. So let's move on to what we need to do. Is here we have the Sun reversed. Now, the Sun typically is a card to me that really talks about warmth and joy and allowing ourselves to shine and to just kind of like move into the energy of like what is light for us. And I think with this being reversed is that maybe it is reflecting back into the energy of the moon a little bit. It's kind of asking us to kind of introspectively look at, you know, what is it that maybe we need to confront? Maybe there's a shadow element here that we haven't really been paying that much attention to that will really be significant for our future happenings and the things that we kind of need to set ourselves up for. The Sun reverse to me can also be maybe we're just not allowing ourselves to really truly shine in the ways that we should be. Maybe we're not allowing ourselves to kind of be the light and to enjoy things the way that maybe we have the capacity to at this current time. And I understand there's so much going on, right? It can be, again, very overwhelming. It can be very much this kind of energy of like, you know, how can I keep on going when there's all of these other things going on in the world and there's all these atrocities and all of this hardship and all of these difficulties. And I think the main lesson that a lot of us tend to learn as we're kind of living through life, even if things are very challenging or hard or uncomfortable, is that the things that give us hope are the things that allow us to keep moving forward. And I feel like the Sun reversed here is kind of saying like maybe we've forgotten a little bit of like what inspires us, what brings us that sense of hope, what allows us to kind of lean into happiness and joy and warmth. And it can be so easy to kind of forget, like, you know, we need to kind of find what is like feeding us and like what is our sun in our lives. And maybe we've kind of disconnected from that in some ways. And so I think that maybe this week will be a great time to reflect back on that, to take some time out to kind of look at, you know, have I been too focused on like the intuition or the, you know, like emotional elements going on here versus like trying to find the little sparks of joy that I can, so that things, even whenever they're suspended, even when things feel like they're not really moving in the direction of what I would have liked them to, if that makes sense, or things are not moving quite as quickly as I want, or things haven't really been flowing the way that I thought they were going to, we need to kind of lean a little bit more into what can I do where I'm at, even if things aren't perfect, even if things aren't great. Those little happy moments, I think, will be very significant for us, especially this week. As we move on to what we need to release, we have the Nine of Pentacles reverse. Now, Pentacles to me can be very much this kind of energy of the material. They can be the physical. They can be our money. They can be, you know, our homes, our bodies, our behaviors. And nines can be this energy of we're almost there, but we have to kind of release something in order to kind of move into the next thing. Now, the Nine of Pentacles reverse, I think, is kind of saying like maybe we're too focused on, you know, being perfectionists and trying to like figure out what we're like good at and what we're doing and how we're gonna do it, and we're too stuck on like the strategy and the planning. And I think with what we need to release here is maybe this like sense of perfection, that everything's going to come together, that everything is going to look a certain way or be a certain way. I know that's something that, I don't know, maybe as you get older, it's a little bit easier to kind of not be so stuck on, I want everything to be, you know, particularly this way or that way. I know as I've gotten a little bit older and a little bit wiser, I guess, I've learned to just not let so many things like bother me quite as much as they used to. Now, I'm not saying that this is telling you to just be like, oh, don't let shit bother you anymore. Just like let it go, blah, 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 blah. With this being what we need to release is maybe the sense of everything has to be perfect in order for me to be happy, or everything, you know, I can't be happy until things look a specific way or are a specific way, or I am a specific way. I think if anything, this is kind of asking us to kind of let go of this sense of having everything be so particular or be so specific. There may be this sense of we have to kind of release certain things in order for us to really feel like things are what we want. And, you know, I feel like the other lesson with the Nine of Pentacles is sometimes is that it's a reminder that like what we nurture and what we focus on is what's going to grow. And so what are we focusing on at this time? Are we too focused on it has to be like the perfect this and the perfect that, you know, in order for me to pay attention to it? Or have I really been allowing myself to just be like, this is where I'm at, this is what I'm doing, this is what I believe in, this is what I've been like focusing a lot of my attention and energy on, and so this is what is valuable to me at this time. So I think with what we need to release this week is maybe the sense of like trying to be perfect, trying to get it right, trying to not say do the most, but maybe we've been a little too focused on like, whoa, how's this going to be and how's that going to look, and you know, blah 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 blah. And so we're not really allowing ourselves to be very intentional about what it is that's kind of like allowing us to shine, and kind of changing our perspective on something so that we can really flow with what's trying to happen here. Now, finally, with what we need to contemplate is the Ace of Swords, which this is a card that really is saying we need to get clear on like what it is that we believe in. Maybe we've been a little, I'm not saying like we're waffling on certain things, but maybe we're just not making decisions. We're not making choices. Maybe it's hard because we're like, well, I don't know what's going to happen next. And I don't know, you know, how this is going to go and how, you know, this is going to look, or what the next best step is. And as someone with chronic indecision, I will say that it has been extremely challenging to try to figure out what comes next. It's been very much like, well, I don't know, and maybe I just want to wait, and I'm just gonna like see. And this comes in with a very swift sort of energy. It's kind of saying like, that's enough. We need to like make a choice now. We need to kind of pay attention to what is happening here with this energy. We need to not be like pulling ourselves back and trying to hold ourselves back. The aces are an invitation to a new door opening. They are a new beginning. Swords can be very much about the mind, the analytical, the logical, our words, how we communicate in a lot of ways. It's very much like truth, justice, and power. And so with this being what we need to contemplate is maybe we need to look at, you know, where are we feeling more powerful? Are we opening new doors to where we can communicate in ways that allow us to really step into our truth? Maybe we're starting to have a clarity about what the truth is of a lot of different things, and we're starting to see things a little bit better than we have previously. So I think with the Ace of Swords, which is a really great indication that things are trying to shift, but it is really going to be up to us to kind of get out there and see what needs to shift and why. So I want to say thank you so much for joining me for this weekly check-in. I really appreciate you guys subscribing and all of your comments. I really do try my best to reply to everybody. I really hope that this week treats you well, that you do something that you love, and that you treat yourself like someone that you love. So please take care, stay safe, and as always, make good choices. Bye.